We're going to begin this class lying on our back with our knees bent, feet on the floor. And we're just going to come to a really easy, natural breath. And see if you can relax. Maybe bring one hand onto your chest, the other onto your belly. And just feel how your breath moves. And with each breath out, see if you can relax more. Notice if the breath gets slower. Notice if it evens out, gets easier. You can stay here for as long as you want. But in this class, we're going to start movement. And I'd like you to grab your straps if you have one. If not, you don't need one. You can just bring your arms up towards the ceiling, fingers pointing up. If you're using a strap, you're going to hang on to it with both hands. Arms are shoulder width apart. And bring the arms overhead and then back over your chest. Now notice that as I'm moving up and down, I'm not lifting the chest up because you get your spine into the equation here. All I'm doing is moving the humerus or the arm bone in the arm socket or in the arm joint. You're going to move really nice and slow. You're going to notice, is one hand or one arm leading the way and the other arm is just following? Or are they both taking turns or sharing the movement and the effort? Also notice that my arms or my hands aren't going all the way to the floor. They're only moving within the range of motion that my arms and my shoulder joints have. You might find that one arm is a little bit more shakier than the other. And one more time. Arms overhead, arms back up. From here, we're going to press our feet into the floor. Arms are out to your sides, a real comfortable position. And palms are facing up. Feet and knees are hip width apart. From here, pressing your feet into the floor, I want you to lift up your hips as high as you can get them, and then back down again. Notice as I'm lifting up my hips that I'm not allowing the rib cage to lift up. I want to see if I can find a really nice line in between the bottom ribs and the pelvis. So the shoulder blades stay on the floor. You're not balancing on your shoulders. A couple more times, lifting up and lifting down. As you're coming up and down, notice if one foot or both feet are maybe rocking to the outsides of the foot, like I'm doing, supinating, or if both feet are planted on the floor as you're lifting and lowering. One more time, lifting up. See if you can get up really nice and high. Stay here for 2 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Maybe one more time. Inhaling and very slowly come down as you exhale. Draw one knee in at a time towards your chest. Give the legs a hug, and maybe rock from side to side. Let's come up into a seated position. And what I like to do is some days when my legs are really super tight, the back of my legs, I like to sit on a bolster. So you can choose whatever you want to sit on. I just have a bolster really nice and handy here. Bring one hand onto the opposite shoulder, and notice as I'm putting my hand on the shoulder, I'm not lifting it up, but I'm trying to keep both shoulders really nice and level. I want you to look at your elbow and begin to lift and lower the elbow a couple times. And just get used to the movement. It's like a door opening and closing. The fingers and the arm joint are hinges. And then I want you to begin to feel where the majority of the movement is, which is in the arm bone and the joint. And I want you to begin to activate the muscles at the very top of your arm and the muscles around the joint. And allow the elbow just to go around, come around for the ride. Begin to notice how the muscles right in the very, very top begin to move and to allow you to lift and lower. So sometimes when we haven't used these certain muscles for a long time, it takes a little bit of brain power to get them moving again. And I haven't really counted, so I'm not quite sure how many reps we've done here. But we're going to do one more, lifting and lowering. And bring the arms down and just compare the arm that you just worked on with the other arm. You might find that the shoulder's down a little bit more. And let's try the other side. So hand is on the shoulder. Make sure that you're not lifting, but both shoulders are nice and level. And begin by just lifting and lowering the elbow. Getting a feel for the movement. Begin to activate the muscles in the joint and maybe the muscles in the very, very top of your arm. And then the movement isn't as fast as it was when you asked the elbow to do it. A little bit more brain power here. Again, I haven't counted how many times we've done this, but we're going to do 2 more times, lifting and lowering. Last time, lifting and lowering. Bring the arms down and shake them out. Let's get rid of our bolster. We'll just put it out to the side. You're going to grab your strap again. And I'd like you, if you have one, grab a chip foam block. If not, you can fold a couple or a blanket underneath, and we're going to be putting this under our pelvis. So we're just using this for a little bit of elevation. So again, knees are bent, feet are on the floor. Lifting up your hips and placing the block underneath. Bring the strap around one foot. And straighten out the leg. I like to wind my hands around the strap, or I guess wind the strap around the hands, just so that I have some control here. And you're going to begin to make circles in your hip. So notice that my circles aren't huge, that I'm not moving from side to side. Just really nice circles so that you can feel the leg bone gliding in the hip. Again, this will be one where You may have to take a few minutes to actually think about what you want to do and how to do it. You can make really super small circles, make bigger ones, and then you're going to change direction. Try not to push your toes up towards the ceiling. See if you can get your foot relaxed. Again, you're going to make maybe some small ones, maybe bigger ones. This isn't a race, so don't make them fast or big. And then stop. And take the strap and hang on to it with the same hand as your leg or foot. I like to bring my arm out to the other arm out to the side, palm is facing up, and open the leg out to the side. Now again, I don't want you to move all the way down so that the opposite hip is lifting up off the floor. See if you can just move a little bit. The leg is moving out to the side. That's called abduction or abduction. Lift it back up again and move it out a couple more times. Just lifting and lowering. Now notice that leg that's bent, that with the foot on the floor. Sometimes what will happen is the knee will either cave in or move out. So see if you can get the knee pointing right up towards the ceiling. And sometimes I really have to watch what's happening with the other leg. I tend to want to collapse. And then take the strap, hang on to it with the opposite hand. Same rules apply. Try not to lift the hip off the floor. Just moving in towards the center and then back again. Watching that knee that's pointing up towards the ceiling. I feel like mine wants to move. And then get rid of the strap. Hang on to it because we have to do the other side. Lift up the hip. Get rid of the block. And just extend the arms out onto the floor and just notice if there's a difference between the leg that you've worked on and the leg that you haven't. And there may be a difference or may not be. And let's try the other side. So again, block is under hips. And don't put the block up so high that you can feel the edge on your lower back. Bring it down just a little bit towards your heels, just so that you're really nice and comfortable, but you still feel supported. And again, we're going to wind the strap around our hands. And again, begin to make circles. Again, notice that I'm not waving from side to side. This tends to be my tighter side, so I really have to think about making the circles. And watch that knee that's pointing up towards the ceiling. Don't let it collapse or fall out. Maybe make some smaller circles. And then change directions. Notice if it's easier to go in one direction than the other. And then grab both ends of the strap with the same hand as the leg you're working with. Open open up. Notice that knee that's bent. And then come back again. Notice that as I'm bringing the knee out, that I'm not turning the foot. I'm trying to keep the leg or the toes pointing in the same direction. And sometimes that'll happen. And then grab the strap with the other hand. Let the leg come in towards the middle. And then get rid of the strap. Compare both legs, see if they feel the same or maybe if one still feels different than the other. And then we're going to roll onto our sides. I want you to grab, I like to grab 2 chip foam blocks, or I like to grab a dome. I think I'm going to use 2 chip foam blocks today. So you're going to pile one on top of the other. And you're going to lie on your side. And if you can feel, I will turn around in the opposite direction when I'm working on the other side. But for right now, I want you to see if you can get the back of your body lined up with the edge of your mat. The knees are bent, and you're going to move the legs back a bit so that you can feel the edge of your mat on the outside edges of your feet. So I'm putting my head on a block. You can put your hand under your head or bring it out to the side in front of you. And I like to tent my top hand on the mat so that I have a little bit more stability here. Now, keeping the insides of your feet together, you're going to lift and lower your top knee or your top leg. Now notice that as I'm lifting, I'm not twisting back. I'm trying to stay nice and stable. So I often pay attention to where my body is pressing into the mat, and I try not to move. So this is external rotation in the hip. Don't go past your range of motion. You're only moving as far as you can and still be comfortable doing it. And one more time, lifting and lowering. And then let's move on to the other side. So I'm going to show you my focal points or my guidelines to doing it on this side. And I try to get the back of my body lined up with the edge of the mat. And I try to get the outside edge of my foot lined up with the outside edge of the mat as well. Knees are bent, feet are on the floor. And I want you to start to open and close. Notice that I'm not rolling back. I'm trying to be very, very stable. And you'll also notice as well that you'll have more external rotation on one side or one leg than you will on the other. And one more time, lifting and come down. If you have a bolster, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. You can grab a couple of pillows or rolled up blankets, whatever you have around the house. We're gonna go into a spinal twist, a really nice, easy spinal twist. Again, I like to put something under my head just so that my head doesn't flop on the ground. Same thing here is you're going to be using the mat as to give you some guidelines. So the knees are bent. I like to see if I can line up my shins with the edge of my mat. And you're going to try to have a 90-degree angle from the bottom and the upper legs and the upper legs and your lower legs. And bring palms together. Arms are in front. And begin to lift the arm up so that the fingers are pointing up towards the ceiling. See if you can get your arm really nice and long here. Now moving the arm and the chest as one unit. Fingers are pointing out or pushing out. Open up the chest. The reason that I like to have the knees in a 90-degree angle is that you don't use your lower back as much, that the twist is more in the middle of your back. So you're not putting as much pressure in the lumbar spine. Now, to become very, very comfortable in this position, the goal eventually is to get both shoulders to relax onto the floor. We're going to help it out a little bit. You take your bolster or your blanket, whatever you have available, blocks even, and you're going to slip the bolster under your knees, under your lower legs, and then notice how the shoulders can easily come to the floor. Also notice that my knees are still together, my feet are still together. All you're doing with the bolster or the blocks or the blankets is elevating the knees, allowing you to get a little bit more comfortable in this position. Especially in a twist, if you find that you're having a hard time breathing, that the breath doesn't come easy, if you can't breathe and talk at the same time, you're too far into it and you have to back off. The nervous system needs to know that you're going to be safe in this position. Let's stay here for one more breath. Now to come out of the twist, again, the arm is lined up with the shoulder, or with the chest, coming all the way up, bringing palm on top of palm and staying here for a few moments. And we're going to roll over onto the other side. So again, you're going to line yourself up. So see if you can get the legs 90 degrees. Arms are in front. Palms are facing up. Lift the arm up so that the fingers are pointing up towards the ceiling. And moving the chest and the arm at the same time. Notice how my arm is nice and straight. And you're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. So we want our shoulders to relax onto the floor so we can get a little bit more comfort. So you're going to take the bolster, slip it under your lower legs, your knees. and come down. Again, begin to notice your breath. And like I say in my classes all the time, if you can't breathe and talk at the same time, you have to back off a little bit. You're too far into whatever you're doing. To come out of the twist, move your chest and your arm at the same time, like one unit. Bring the arm down so that palm is on top of palm. Stay here for a breath or two. And then roll over onto your back. For the last position or the last pose, if you have a soft Pilates ball, please grab it, or you can use a block, or again, you can use a rolled up blanket. We're going to be putting the ball under our head. Again, you're going to bend your knees. Make sure that your knees and your feet are hip width apart. Bring the arms out to the sides, palms are facing up. Allow your chin to drop. Don't force it, just allow it to move in the motion or the range that it can move on its own. And then bring your head back to where you started. Continue to allow the chin to drop and lift up the head. So we're going to do this about 5 times in each position that we try. You can definitely do it as much as you want, doing it on your own. Now the next time that you lift your head back up, I want you to tip your head back and then back to the center. Again, 5 times. I think this is 5, I lost count. And then you're going to move through the whole range of motion. So let's bring the chin down. Head comes to center. Tip the head back. And I'll try to remember to count this time. This is 2. 3. 4. 5. Come to center. Allow your head to drop to the left. Again, not forcing anything, just let it drop. Come back to where you started. 4 more times. 2. 3. 4. 5. Lift your head up. Let it drop to the right 5 times. And 5. And then move through the whole range of motion on both sides, to the left, center, and to the right. And this is 2 that we're doing right now. And 3. 4. come back to the center. Tip your head to the left about halfway between the center of your chest and your shoulder. Let the chin drop. Lift it up. 4 more times. That's number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Come back up. Move to the right. Chin comes halfway between the center of your chest and the top of your shoulder. Let the chin drop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can keep the ball or the block under your head, or you can remove it. Bring your hands to your belly and just lay here for a few moments in resting pose. Allowing the breath to come easy. Feeling the engagement of your deep abdominal muscles as you breathe out. I'm going to close my practice, but please stay in this position, breathing in and out for as long as you want. Have a great day, a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.